Today's date is Saturday, February 25th, 2023. My name is Elizabeth Wynn. I am an 8th grade student at Kulanu-Fairfield and Trumbull, Connecticut. I will be interviewing my grandma, whose name is Susan. This interview is being recorded for the Oral History Archives of the Jewish Historical Society of Fairfield County. Good morning, Grandma.
Good morning, Elizabeth. Good morning. Shalom.
Shalom. Alright, so let's start with you telling me your full name.
Sarah Leah Belinki.
And do you know who you were named after?
Maybe after Abraham, from the Bible, Abraham, the ancestor of the Jewish people, his wife was Sarah. At her time, she was the most beautiful woman in the world. And everybody, all the women came for her advice.
Dad, you should tell the story when about how the teacher, how you got the name Eddie.
Oh, okay. When we first came to this country, well, it must have been a week, 10 days later, Grandma and Grandpa enrolled me into a nursery school. And nobody knew how to speak English. And they kept asking Grandma, what's my name, to enroll me. So my German name was Adush. And Adush in German meant Abraham. And that was really my original name. So they didn't understand what Adush meant. So they made me Eddie.
Okay.
Eddie Love. So that's how and from that time, all my records are Eddie instead of Abraham. But my birth certificate says Abraham.
When we just came to Israel, I was in an observation center where all the new Jewish people who came to settle in Israel settled, so you can meet and see all Jews from all over the world, all their customs, and on how they lived and interacted with one another. I lived there first in a tent with another family, a Yemenite family, with my family. In the morning I used to cross the highway to find all kinds of fruits and vegetables that could help my family. I was the oldest.
When did you and your family come to America?
Well, it's interesting you should ask that, because I had someone do some research, and on my father's side and my mother's side, well, my father's side in particular, there were people that came over before the Revolutionary War. And they probably came from Northern Europe someplace. And on my mother's side, my great grandfather came over from, left the French coast, bought his wife and I think 2 children over, and his wife supposedly died en route on the ship, and he couldn't take care of his young children, so he put them in an orphanage. So they were both lines were from Northern Europe. And that would have been in like for them, what, 1800s, mid 1800s maybe?
I was a teacher, so I always wanted to teach. And I taught a few years in Israel, and then I saw an ad in the newspaper that asked for teachers to volunteer to teach in the diaspora outside of Israel, Hebrew, about Judaism, dancing, everything. So I volunteered, and I had a choice between Mexico and another place, Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And I didn't choose Mexico, which would have been more Jewish people there. I chose Calgary, Alberta. There were about 800 Jewish families there.
Where is your family originally from, and how and when did they get to the U.S.?
Well, my grandparents, all four of them, came during the early 1900s when so many people were immigrating to the United States. And on my father's side, both my grandmother and grandfather came from Germany. And on my mother's side, they came from Romania.
Very nice. Do you know why they came to the U.S.?
Not really. You know, it's funny. I never thought to ask about that when my parents, when I was young. I do know that both of my parents are first generation Americans, and they were very proud of them.
During the Holocaust, I know many of your family members were affected by that. So, what was one major effect of your family from the Holocaust?
Well, both my parents were in concentration camps.
Wow.
So they were affected. My father lost his whole family. My mother lost a lot of her family.
Wow. I mean, truly a horrible thing.
Now, I would like you to take out the item that you brought to talk about today.
Okay, so the first one we'll show a picture of in a minute. A matzah cover that my grandmother, your great-great-grandmother, hand embroidered. And we framed it, and my mom had it on the wall for many years. And when she moved, that was very important to go on my wall too.
Now I would like you to take out the item that you brought to talk about today. So the physical artifact.
Okay. Well, I have one of the two candlesticks that were my grandmother's. She brought them from home, from Odessa, and I use them to light candles on the holidays.
Why is it special to you and our family?
Because it's part of my heritage, part of my family history.
Do you have any cool artifacts from your or your family's past?
Yes. On my father's side, I have his father's badge. He was a revenue man in West Virginia, and I have two of his pistols. One is a short nose 38, and the other is a longer 38, both of which he used when he was a revenue man. And the badge, if I can find it, it has a streak across it where supposedly someone shot at him when he was doing his revenue work, and the bullet went across the badge.
When you were a teenager, did you have a bat mitzvah?
No, girls did not have a bat mitzvah. My brother had a bar mitzvah, and girls had a confirmation when they were 16. And it was just a group thing for all the girls at the same time. However, when we joined B'nai Israel in Danbury, we had a student rabbi. He became a rabbi towards the end of his time with us. But he got a group of us women. There were 6 of us. And he taught us what we had to learn. And we had a group bat mitzvah. In fact, one of my girlfriends gave me the challah knife that I use when I cut challah.
What was most important to you about it?
About the bat mitzvah, unfortunately, there wasn't a lot because it wasn't as memorable because, like, when you had your bat mitzvah, you thought about your speech and you gave a speech that was relevant to the Torah, but also to who you are and who your family was, whereas we were just given words to say that I obviously don't even remember, so I'm not quite sure how impactful that was, except for the fact that back then it was just on the cusp of things changing. So the moms and dads wanted the girls to be bat mitzvahed, and because we were in an Orthodox shul and it really wasn't a thing, they had to make something up. So other than my pretty dress, I don't remember much else.
Your parents made a living through the dentists, correct?
Yes, through my father.
The 3 generations.
Yes, there were 3 generations. My father was a dentist and he retired, and then my brother Kenneth, he was a dentist and he took over the practice in the same office, the same building. And then his son, Eric Marshall, he took over.
And he's still there at the same building.
He's still in the office and in the same office. And it's a 3 generations of dentists that we're very proud of.
It's amazing. So,
and my brother Dan is the doctor. He just retired at 99 years old.
wow. So, what's your favorite Jewish holiday and why, Grandma?
Passover. I love how Passover because it's time we all get together with the children and the family. So I love that.
Yeah, Passover's really
How many grandchildren and great grandchildren do you have?
I have 3 daughters, 4,
5.
I have two grandsons and 3 granddaughters, and I have 5 great grandchildren. So I'm very lucky in life. I've been very lucky and happy and living as long as I have, which I'm 96 years old now, and going on 97, slowly. And I had a very good life, and I have very good children.
Now I would like you to pick a Jewish holiday and describe your memories of how you and your family celebrated it when you were a child.
Okay. Passover was a lot of fun. We had, my grandparents used to make big seders with a lot of relatives, and my grandfather used to conduct the seder because he was a cantor, and they did all the rituals. You know how you're supposed to recline when you're doing the seder. He used to have big pillow by his chair, and it was fun. And my grandmother used to make handmade horseradish, and when she got too old to do it, Grandpa Ralph started doing it, and he did it until he couldn't do it, and Papa started doing it, and he just stopped in the last year or 2. So we hope your father can continue doing that.
What was your favorite Jewish holiday and how did you celebrate it when you were a child?
I think the favorite was Passover. And I like the tradition. I like the Seder. My mother was a good cook and she made all the traditional Jewish foods, which I'm hoping to pass on to you girls. And it was, of course, matzo ball, chicken matzo ball soup, really good chicken broth and the matzo balls. And she made very good potato kugel and brisket and roast chicken, just all the traditional foods that you would want for the holidays.
Now I would like you to pick a Jewish holiday and describe your memories of how you and your family celebrated it when you were a child.
How about, let's make it easy. Grandma used to make Shabbos dinners. That's a holiday, right?
Yes.
And she always had a challah. She always lit the candles. We all sat around. Grandpa always made a kiddush over the wine. And me and my two brothers had to be at the dinner table every Friday night, no matter what. Even if we were going out on a date, we had to be at the table to have dinner, Shabbos dinner. That was the tradition.
Mm-hmm.
And then the three of us cleaned up.
And the nice thing about
And the best thing was,
the family talked.
and the best thing was when Grandpa finally got Grandma a dishwasher, we all cheered.
That's a good story.
I'd like to ask a few questions about your life when you were growing up. So, what was it like? Can you describe your childhood home, neighborhood, friends and family, just what it was like, the living conditions for you?
Well, we were very poor because we came here with nothing. We were sponsored by the Jewish Family Service of New Haven. And when we first came to the United States, we lived in an attic apartment that was sponsored by a woman and her husband. And we were there for less than a year, and then we moved and we lived upstairs from a store. And we moved several times during my childhood until our last place we lived, when I was 16, my parents were able to afford to buy a house.
Wow.
So we lived in several different places, mostly poor neighborhoods.
Going on that note about your dad making a living, what did both your parents do to make money and support and provide for your family?
Well, my father did not have a career when he came here because in Europe before the war he was in the Polish cavalry. And then he was captured by the Germans and put in a prisoner of war camp, and then was put in a concentration camp. Then when he came to the United States, he did not have a career. So he was given an opportunity to work in an upholstery shop, an upholstery factory. And that's where he learned how to do upholstery.
Do you have any cool stories from when you served?
I have a lot of war stories, more than your tape will do, but some of the more interesting ones, what would I say? Well, I was stationed in Thailand in the late 60s, 67, I guess it was, and our mission was I was in the F-4, the Phantom, and our mission was to fly to North Vietnam. We did not fly in South Vietnam. We flew in North Vietnam to Hanoi and a whole bunch of the different route packs around there. And probably the experience of my life there was seeing a MiG behind me and in the 6, 7 o'clock position and shooting. And we were trying to get away and turn tighter and tighter, and he was turning, and it was just like a hose coming out the front with his internal gun. And he just dipped at the last minute because he lost sight of us, and we were gone.
When you were around my age, did you have a favorite radio or television program or movie? What did you like about it?
I loved Rock Hudson. He was a movie star. I don't remember the name of the movie. It was a long time ago, but he was so handsome that's what I remember. And the radio program, they used to have mysteries. The Life of Helen Trent, that used to be the mystery on the radio. It was so different than what you have now, but it was fun.
What invention or creation has amazed you in your lifetime, and why?
Walk on the moon.
Thank you.
That was the major thing that I can remember that I was impressed with.
What invention has amazed you in your lifetime?
The telephone.
The cell
And
phone.
I think that it's terrible that the kids listen to the telephone and watch it so much, and they don't go out and play. When I was young, we always were outside, and we played, and we went into somebody's house maybe, and she always gave us milk and a cookie or something, and that was that's it.
And one more thing, what advice do you have for future generations, Grandma?
Well, I think they better be careful with everything going on. But
what about
just know the news, know what's going on, help people if they need help with all these.
How about with Israel?
With all these things.
How about with Israel?
And be very close to Israel and always help Israel. In fact, go to Israel. I went to Israel with Dave, and we really enjoyed it.
When I grew up, when I was your age, we used to go to Bradley Beach in Florida in the summertime. And my mom used to say to me, don't look at their arm, because they had their numbers when they were in the Holocaust. They had their numbers tattooed on their arm. It was so close to the end of the war that those were the things that we were taught. You don't talk about it, you don't look at them, you don't bring it up, it's just quiet. Now, because we did that, we lost a lot of years of understanding what the Holocaust was. The first time I heard that your mom was learning about the Holocaust in Hebrew school, I was devastated over that, because it wasn't something that we were taught. You know, as an adult, I realized why it was necessary. But going through my life, I've never realized how necessary it is, especially with what we're living with today. So take pride in who you are, keep it in your thoughts, keep those people in your prayers, and don't let people forget what we've been through, because if we do let them forget, then we all go away and all the people that were part of our family are gone. So that's my spiel. I love you.
Thank you for spending time talking to me today.
You're welcome, sweetheart.
What advice do you have for future generations like me?
Well, have big dreams and work hard to get what you want.
Okay. Thank you for talking to me.
Oh, you're very welcome. It was a pleasure.
All right, thank you so much, Grandma.
No, wait a minute. That happened. I was making it longer.
Oh,
You didn't do it.
just hug.